Hi, Keith Croes here. Imagine the U.S. space program depending on the veracity of a human emotion. A very whimsical human emotion. An emotion called love. That's the theme of my story, The Jumping Off Point, and it's one of my favorites. And it has to do with a time where it becomes evident that the only faster than light way to traverse the universe is through a human aptitude that only few people on the earth have. It's naturally born, it can happen in anyone, and these people come to be known as transpaths or subpathers. They're people, they're like psychics, and the space program therefore hinges on a way to identify these people and convert them to the space program. And people who would be astronauts or members of the United States space program would then be trained in finding transpaths and in cultivating a real love between them. And so the concept for the story was, how do you fall in love? How do you know that you're in love? And in the story, the life of the astronaut would depend on the veracity of the love that the transpath had for you. And in some cases, transpaths were able to traverse the universe with whole families, 2 or 3 or more people, that if their love encircled them, and if those people loved them back, they would all make it to the other side. The transpath was going to make it regardless. But if the people who were going along for the ride did not sincerely love the transpath, they would die along the way. Their molecules, their atoms would strip into the field and be scattered throughout the universe. And so it turns out there's a few places on Earth where circumstances intersected where this could occur, and these places came to be known as jumping off points. And in North America, one of the few valid working jumping off points was in Joplin, Missouri. It just so happened. And so a huge kind of dome shaped sphere was constructed by the space program, where the people who were going to be traveling would go inside of the sphere and see the universe around them. It was sort of like going to a planetarium, which had a 360-degree view. You would be in the middle and see all the stars, all the galaxies spreading out in every direction. And the planet or the galaxy where you wish to go to would be identified. The transpath would be trained to aim for that place, and because they were actually in the jumping off point, they could feel the jumping off points on the other planets and prepare for the actual point of jumping off. The story concerns a young man, an astronaut who had been in training, astronaut training for years, never could find the right partner, someone he could love, that could love him back, who was a transpath, who could take him to the stars. And that's the simple premise. It has a lot to do with love. It has everything to do with love. And it just so happened that the transpath he found, it could have been a man, it could have been a woman. Turns out he was a heterosexual male and Caucasian, and the transpath that he had to fall in love with was a young black prostitute. And so her history was important to him. He had things issues to get beyond in order to survive the trip. And again, the jumping off point, one of my favorites. It's in my first book, Fantasy Crow. You'll find the links below. Thank you for stopping by, and see you again. Bye.